Sir.
Greetings and welcome to Prepare to Fast Forward, our chance to leave the past behind and concentrate on current pop culture. Wow. My name is Jason. He's Rich and that's Chris.
Hi,
I'm Rich.
Hi, all. Hello.
No Steve tonight. He's got a migraine, poor lad. So he's suffering in a dark room somewhere. So yeah, best wishes to Steve. But sorry for the little late start. But yeah, we had teething troubles, of course, as we would on our first live stream. But we're here. We started. We're only 5 minutes late, so it wasn't too bad, was it?
It's all right.
I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's pretty good. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Thank you. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. We have, I say, everyone in the chat, but there's Seth. So thanks very much, Seth, for coming in. I hope you're sitting comfortably and ready for for all to crumble around us and just be I don't know, whatever it's going to be. But hopefully it will be an enjoyable show, whether it is we keep ourselves together or it does all fall apart around us. But I am rambling and waffling. You can tell I'm slightly nervous. So let's just get into the show, shall we, guys? But yeah, thank you. Welcome to our very first live stream. Hi again to everyone in the chat, and we will make sure that you do have a good time. Hey, Limp Biscuit, good to see you here too. Thanks for coming in. Great to see you. But yeah. Oh dear. But anyway, what have we got coming up on this live stream for you guys? Well, we have some wonderful picks of things that we've been playing and watching recently. Especially Rich's pick is quite an interesting one, so I'll be quite intrigued to hear what everyone thinks about that. And I do have a question to ask us as it's like a little getting to know each other for you, the listeners, and for us ourselves as well, I guess. We're always trying to learn and find out new things about us. So I think that'd be quite interesting. But first, I did put out on the socials, on Twitter mostly, about a little competition that I tried to run to celebrate our first live stream. I thought it'd be great to give away a game. This is probably news to Chris and Steve, Chris and Rich, as you can probably tell by their faces. But it was for a copy of Horace on the platform of your choice. So I want to give that away. Should we give that away now? Or should we just make them wait until the end of the show? I don't know. I think we should make them wait. Let's just be mean.
Yeah, make them wait. Keep people around.
Yeah, we'll make them wait.
Yeah.
But also in this episode, we will
Audience retention.
Yeah, we will have some listener feedback. We had Limp Biscuit, who is, yes, Seth, absolutely, make them wait for it. Good man. But yeah, Limp Biscuit very kindly sent in an audio file of a couple of programs that he's been watching and enjoying recently as well. I say 2 programs. God, I'm so nervous. What's going on? He sent in an audio about a game that he's played and a TV show that he's watched. So we'll play that a bit later as well. So thank you anyway for Limp Biscuit for sending that in. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to let these two talk a little bit more so I can have a drink and just get myself settled a little bit more. But guys, the question that I've got for you two is, what is your go-to road trip snacks? And Chris, we'll go to you first, mate.
Being a driver, it depends on mood and where you're going and how long your road trip is. For me, it's always ready salted crisps, peanut M&Ms, and Skittles.
That is a good choice, lad. I admire you for that.
It's even better when you got a bag of pretzels and you put the pretzels in with the M&Ms and you just reach for them and just grab a small handful.
There's a pro move, dude. I would never even think to do that.
Yeah, got to keep that sweet savoury thing up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chucking some dry fried bacon. Just.
What?
I'm just kidding, Jason.
Jerky, mate.
I don't know
Jerky.
actually. I don't know actually, because like bacon is something that probably obviously goes with a lot of things, but actually goes with quite a lot of things that you wouldn't even think to pair it with. So it could actually work.
Yeah, Five Guys put it in a milkshake. So
exactly.
win-win.
I can't believe that when I was in the States and I saw that bacon in a milkshake.
Keep meaning to try that. I've not tried that yet.
And I was like, I have to. Yeah. I have to try that.
Nearest Five Guys to us is a hop over the water, but very rarely doing that in Portsmouth, I think. Portsmouth.
Let's go on the ferry.
Yeah.
Yeah, just popping out for a Five Guys, love. See you.
Yeah, we've got to go into ferry to get anything remotely interesting. So, yeah.
Cool. Chat, chat. Send us in your answers as well. We'd like to see them. Seth has said peanut M&Ms is a good answer. So, and absolutely, I think peanut M&Ms is a good answer for anything. So, it's the go-to M&Ms. So.
I love that. The most American drink. We put it in our baby bottles. Brilliant.
Yeah. All right, Rich. What's your go-to snack, dude?
If I'm going to say savoury, I'm going to say just nice salted corn nuts because they are like the best thing ever. I love corn nuts very much. Sweet, I'm going to go with Reason chocolate juice because they're the best thing ever. I love them and I will eat them in the front or the back of a car, depending on where I'm seated. I would just demolish a bag of Reasons without fail. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's my choice.
What you going to say, Chris?
Keep it quiet, Reasons. Because they're great, and then you start to chew them, and then they just stick to your teeth. And each one...
Screw your braces up as well. My dentist will attest to that. Yeah.
Oh, I was a brace
ripped
wrecker.
It clean out, seriously.
Were you a brace wrecker as well, Rich? Yeah. Didn't we have the same orthodontist as well when we were kids?
More than
Mr.
likely.
Bentley.
And was it
he
Ricky Kane as well?
He never wore goggles while doing it, and he got hit by a bit of a tooth when he was drilling.
Yeah.
Hit him in the eye, and he got cross-eyed.
Oh no!
So, an absolutely lovely, absolutely lovely guy. Like, just and you're standing there, and he's putting injections into your mouth and taking teeth out, and his eye is looking into his nose bridge. It was lovely guy though.
Wow.
He's got those mortgage eyes, He's got those mortgage eyes, one fixed, one variable. So
how we can go from peanut M&Ms to this? It's amazing. I love it. Seth in the chat is asking if
rest in peace,
if we have
Bentley.
Seth is asking in the chat if we all have combos, but I don't think we do, Seth, because I'm not really sure what that means.
Really combine several snacks in the same bag.
Are they?
Combos is in combination?
Combos, are they kind of like bugles? I can't remember now. They are like a potato chip, like a US potato chip.
Oh, okay.
They are very yummy though.
Awesome. No, except for
oh no, they're kind of they're like little cylinders. So, but you get like pepperoni pizza flavor, but they're like kind of stuffed as well. They're like little pretzels, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They are yummy.
They sound amazing. I'm not going to lie. They sound amazing. But yeah, for me, road trip snacks, bit of kind of more like the Chris side, really. We always go like chocolate sides, Skittles, M&Ms, fruit pastels, those kind of things. We've been known to destroy a couple of packs of soft mints, which was quite interesting later on in the day.
I was going to say that would clear you out at the end of the trip, wouldn't it, Chase?
Yeah.
TL.
But we always have a bag of humbug mints in the car as well because they're nice to have in your mouth while you're driving.
You've not got a pack of Werthers in the trip either, if you're Jason.
No, we're not that old yet. No. I mean, We're getting there.
But
Jason's delicious butter candy.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are my road trip snacks. But man, I kind of want these combos. I want to try them out. Sound amazing.
Combos are banging. I can confirm.
Limp Biscuit in the chat says black and red wine gums. That's a good call, dude. Can't say no to a wine gum. But yeah. All right. Well, let's.
What I've got as well. Flips. Chocolate coated pretzels. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, the white chocolate ones.
No, I'm not a fan of white chocolate. It's too sweet. Yeah.
Of course.
It is. It's just like it's just there, isn't it? It's just like.
Okay. I think that's enough chat about snacks. Shall we just get into the program itself and let's chat some stuff? We all ready, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, are you all sitting comfortably?
I'm ready.
Well, let's hope the listeners are sitting comfortably as we prepare to fast forward. I get excited with all these other videos. Did you like it? It was good, wasn't it? I liked it. That's because I made it.
Very nice, yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's get into what we've been watching and what we've been playing. And Chris, why don't you start off the conversation?
Well, I have recently, the past week or so, completed The Last of Us Part 2.
Nice. Good choice, dude.
Again, I'm 3 years late to the party, but I went in relatively spoiler-free, which I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. I remember the rumours happening sort of like before release, and maybe I just put it all to the back of my mind. But then, as soon as I started playing it and looking up information and sort of like you get lost in a few zones, you know, oh, I need to go for a walkthrough. Then all of a sudden the videos appear in your YouTube algorithm and you're like, great, that's just spoiled that scene. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So I went 3 years with not a single spoiler, and then I start looking up information about it, and then here comes YouTube to ruin your day. Excuse me. So yeah, big game is far from perfect. I don't know if any one of you guys have played it.
I have played it. Yes, I played it. Maybe last year, maybe, or maybe the year before. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. It was after its release, because I remember going into game and picking it up brand new, still sealed, for like 12 quid, and I was like, I'm having that because I loved the first one. But I never picked up the second one on launch just because it was right in the pandemic. Yeah. And I was too busy playing Animal Crossing, dude. I mean, Animal Crossing just took my life over at that point. I didn't watch. So Animal Crossing didn't even make me want to buy them. Yeah, didn't even want to make me buy Last of Us Part 2. And I had such a great time with the first one. But I'm kind of glad I waited, because picking it up for such a cheap price, it just made it even better. But yes, Chris, the answer to your question is I have played and completed it.
That's exactly what happened to me. I just happened to be in Sports Direct. Now, the merger of Sports Direct and game turned something that had already lost its soul into a soulless entity in the forgotten corner of a sports store. I don't know if anyone's been into a game store recently, but oh my fucking god, it was just, there was no energy, it was just there in the corner of a sports store behind fucking Calvin Klein and Hugo Boss. So what is going on? Like, literally all the charm that game ever had is gone. And it was there for £16 for half price. And like you, Jason, I was
next to the pre-owned Lonsdale socks.
Yeah, yeah. And I picked it up for 16 quid, and I was like, yeah, I've been waiting for 3 years to play this. And I was like, boom. I've only played it through once, but there's right. Don't take this the wrong way. There is no issues with the game itself. The worlds, the character building, the animation, everything is a masterpiece. The way, like, the blood would run when it rains on the skin, that kind of level of detail. The issues I have are purely narrative and structure based. Are you familiar with the game at all, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, I played the first one, and I know about the second one. I know pretty much all the story beats of the second one, and that a lot of grown men were upset about Abby's arms.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. And it's stuff that it's, again, what it is and what happens to all fandom is the people, so-called fans, are the people who destroy the legacy of the games or the property that you're a fan of. And that's what happened with this game for me, because I was looking on different message boards, different walkthrough guides. I was trying to find a certain area, couldn't find it, and then I went down a rabbit hole on different forums, and I'm like, do you know what? Fuck you guys. So I came straight out there, and I went straight onto Eurogamer, and just didn't go to any comment section, nothing, and just followed their walkthrough of various areas. But narratively, spoilers, the game's been out 3 years. Joel dies in the opening act. That didn't affect me, but some butthurt fans, like we saw it coming. Fans of the game saw it coming. The first game I consider to be Naughty Dog's masterpiece. Now, I love Naughty Dog, and it goes back to Uncharted. I love those games. Uncharted 3, yeah, that was a shame. But then they came back. Yeah, and they were like, right, the third game was a misfire, and they came back with number 4, absolutely blinding. Then The Last of Us Part 2, and I was like, right, gearing up, and the narrative, for some reason, it was split between the two. So you play the opening as Ellie, and then the last, act, the last, 10 hours, you play as Abby, which is set up to be the antagonist. Now, a lot of people had issues with that. I didn't. I was fully on board. You humanized the character, and you understand that what Ellie is doing is she's becoming the person she hated at the beginning of the first game. She's not that optimistic person anymore. She's this really hurt, traumatized person. Because what was it, 8 years between the first game and the second? And then you get this antagonist, that comes in and sets a trap for everyone. And Joel's taken out, and Ellie goes on this revenge story. Basically, it's this standard revenge story. And then it flips to the same 3 days. You then play as Abby on essentially the other side of the tracks. And the performances are fantastic. When you listen to Ashley Johnson play those lines, it's just full of emotion and energy. But the game's narrative, by doing that split down the middle, if they had it more linear, I think it would. I think it was just, I don't know. The split down the middle was just too much of a split.
See, I love that. I love that part of the game, because it was such a big surprise to me.
It was
that happened, and that thinking I was going to be playing as Ellie for the whole part, and then it kind of all swiveled around and twisted towards this, to Abby, and getting to know Abby and getting to learn about, like you mentioned at the beginning, where Abby was the motivator behind Joel's demise, but then you get to see it from her perspective, you get to see why they were hunting him and wanting him dead. And I think that was the strongest part of the game for me, was the starting to feel emotions and starting to feel sorry for Abby as well.
Yeah.
And in some ways, not liking Ellie as much as I did, and thinking that, Ellie was Ellie was like the high and mighty. She was like the big, the big heroine of the story. And then you get this whole second part of the game and you get to see this side, and it all kind of twists around inside your head. And I think that was one of the things that I walked away from playing the game. That was like, wow, that game made me feel that.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're probably dealing with these kinds of like games, these kind of narratives. Is obviously you're dealing with a lot of like very damaged people that do questionable things.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly.
It's easy just to be like, oh, that person's pure evil and she has very muscular arms and I find it unattractive and I must hate her and go onto Reddit. So
that wasn't my issue at all.
I get why people get on our horses. I know it's not your issue, Chris.
No, it's
some people.
Yeah, that's the same reason why I decided, no, enough discussion boards. I'm done. I'm just going to go for a walkthrough and search certain chapters manually, because I can't be doing with it, because the game is stunning. It looks gorgeous. It plays so well, and they've updated all the mechanics, all the animations, the crafting, everything is superb. But that moment when you get to know Abby, and then she realizes that the wolves aren't who she's taught they were. She sees these holes forming, about how horrific they are. She meets up with these group of Seraphites, and she realizes that the group of wolves are on the top of the pecking order. The important people are the people at the bottom that are trying to survive. And she realizes that halfway through her story campaign that the people she's rescued from this hanging, and she even says it in the game, these are my people. She steps away from that old life. But what I struggled with the game is, you, like any game, you progress. There's not as much infected in this game, which is a clever idea, because it's more of a study of human nature. Human beings are the most violent species. It's that kind of study, and you come away and your brain's just like, wow. It just shows humans are destructive, we are violent, we are self-righteous, and we are to be feared, not the infected. And the message was through pretty well and good, because my main issue is, you go through the whole game and you're killing hundreds and thousands of different people, NPCs. You're blowing them up with arrows, you're throwing Molotovs at them, you're setting traps to blow them up and their dogs. And then you get a moment where, especially at the end, where Abby is willing to just let all of it slide. I can't fight you anymore. She's literally been crucified at the end, right? And she says, I don't want to fight you. I can't do this. So Abby has closed that book, but Ellie has gone on that. She's said goodbye to her perfect, idyllic life to hunt this person down for revenge. And Ellie can't do it. And she breaks down. And to me, that's a really good humanitarian look at the game itself. But that's all well and good if you only kill 2 or 3 people in the 35, 40 hours you're playing it. But after you've mown down 100 people in just one section of the game, and then she can't bring herself to actually kill the person who killed her father figure, it just narratively just doesn't blend well. I know the whole point of the game is to go and mow people down, but
I think that's you've just hit it. It's a video game.
That's the thing.
If it was trying to tell the story, but like you say, you only had 1 or 2 conflicts in the whole 40 hours,
it wouldn't
probably
be
wouldn't make for a very good video game, would it? So.
No.
It's the same with Uncharted. A lot of people said that about Uncharted. Nathan's gunning down all these people and everything.
Yeah,
and it's just so
murderer. Yeah, but it's
exactly.
It's a game. It's I've seen people edit it into like I think it's like an 8 hour cut of cut scenes and various gameplay footage to set up, but it's one of those things where it's very disjointing. But that was the only negative I have on the game. Other than that, the way it portrays humanity and different groups of humanity is fascinating. And I've been listening to, since I've completed playing it, the official Last of Us podcast, where they interview Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson. And they say that they were breaking down filming these scenes because they've all suffered from these issues, that these people are literally, like, we live in lap of luxury, and a lot of complaints I've seen about the game was it's too dark, it's too slow, it's too brooding, it's too depressing. The first game was about optimism. The first game had this positivity, almost this positivity out of negativity blooming in the middle of it. And I said, people have been saying that this game is the opposite, but that's kind of the point. You're seeing damaged people trying to find themselves. And Ellie finally finds herself, and she, throughout the game, in the first game, she's this kind of lovely little person with optimism, and in this game, she's a tortured soul. And
that's fair, I think, considering what she went through in the first game.
Yeah,
fair.
And it's also, I don't know if you can call it consumerism culture, where people have to be spoon-fed every piece of information. There's been 8 years in between game 1 and game 2. Joel lied. She found out. So she's had essentially survivor's guilt for 8 years because Joel took that choice away from her. And one of the best scenes in the game is at the very end, where there's a flashback. Joel's on the porch playing guitar, and Ellie says, "I can't forgive you for what you did at a hospital," because she said them taking my life could have made a difference. Now, this is where story-driven games are so superior to just your standard, point-and-shoot run games, where it blows you away on a cinematic level. It is absolutely immersive. The emotion that they're getting for the performance capture, the voice acting is on. It's just superb. And she just says, "I could learn to try and forgive you for what you did." But Joel taking that choice to take, because she said her life could have meant something and the cure could have been developed. But he took that choice away from her. The choice that she made walking into a hospital and said, yes, I'm going to do it. But Joel, being the selfish father figure in a way, didn't want to lose another daughter figure, so murdered a whole hospital full of guards and nurses and doctors to do so. So you've got a lot of trauma bubbling over, and this game deals with PTSD in a way I've never seen a game do before. And I've been in dark places, and you guys probably have too, and it's difficult to get out of, and you never forget it, and you try and put on this face, you try and survive, and that's the whole point of these games, is to survive. And I just think it was a sublimely done game, and I think in an ideal world you could do your own edit of the game, you could put certain bits in different areas, but again, it's entertainment, it's a game, it's a completely different medium. And I consider the first game as one of the best games ever made, and I played it through numerous times, and each time I noticed something different. I play it slightly differently, and we'd be amiss not to mention the performance of Abby, how the developers, Neil Druckmann said, you're supposed to hate her in the beginning. You're supposed
Which you do.
You're supposed to despise everything about her and the people there. But then when they flesh the story out of her friends and the stadium, which is an awesome, awesome place, and the wolves, and you start to see it from there, and then the people that Ellie has killed up until that point appear as fully fledged human characters, and then you start to feel Ellie's just an insufferable prick of a human being.
Yeah,
she's a horrible human being. She has turned into the person that she never wanted to be, and I don't know where this part 3 will go. It's difficult to work out, but yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 is a high recommend for me, and it's just great all around. And when you get to know the antagonist, everything becomes clear. You almost sympathize with Abby more than Ellie.
You do, yeah.
Which is so difficult to balance, especially in games.
Yeah,
and you start to think, shit, like, have we been idolizing this horrible person, like, who is out for revenge? But then you realize that they're both human at the end, and they both have the humanity. In the end, is neither of them kill each other. They let each other go, and that's the humanity. Yes, you've just mown down about 1,000 body count, but at the end, you show the humanity, and you just let things go. Ellie couldn't be that person. She couldn't be that person, and that, to me, is the smallest yet amazing character growth, because it's mirrored with Abby in the theatre.
Mm-hmm.
When she comes across and she's got the knife to Dina's neck and the gun to Ellie's head, and she says, "I never want to see you again," and she lets it go then. But it's Ellie's persistent, like, crusading, that they meet again and again for the third time, and it's a standout game, and I'd be amiss not to mention how amazing the show adaptation is. I don't know if anyone's seen that yet.
I haven't watched it yet, to be honest.
I'm mixed about it. I don't hate it, but I feel like people kind of shut themselves over it. There's a lot of episodes. It's like there are moments where I'm like, I don't pretend it's nearly anywhere on the low level of The Walking Dead, but there's episodes where I'm like, it could be like a Walking Dead episode where nothing really happens, and it just feels like
it does suffer from the clickbait.
First
television
episode is powerful as hell. Like,
I mean, I've only watched it through once, so it's, again, like you said, Rich, quite correctly. You sit there and go, "Oh, this is great. They've done this, they've done that, they've changed this," and then you sit there and think about it, like this conversation now, and I'm like, actually, do you know what? There are moments. It's clickbait TV, and it's good, and Pedro Pascal is fantastic. And don't get me started on the vitriol that Bella Ramsey has been receiving, because that's just uncalled for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, from what I've heard and from what I've seen in the clips, she did a great job. So a bit mean. But
there's that one incredibly beautiful episode with Nick Offerman in it, which is just like, damn. Like,
the way they took that small character beat in the game, where Joel and Ellie get the truck and some supplies, they turned essentially a throwaway character that meant nothing, but gave it the same outcome where they get the truck. But that episode of Bill and Frank is probably one of the best episodes of television ever filmed. It's stunning.
Yeah, I've heard that one's a standout. So I will get around to it one day. But yeah, you know what times like these days.
it's going to be a while till season 2, unless all the SAG-AFTRA strike is still going on. So
yeah. Seth in the chat said it's going to be fascinating to see how they approach all the stuff that you said about The Last of Us 2 into the second series, into the TV show, which I totally agree. I kind of think they're going to split the second game into 2 seasons. I think they're going to have one season with Ellie and one season with Abby. I think that's how they're going to maybe approach that.
I mean, I've thought about it as well. Like, you think you've got TV, so you've got theoretically 3 to 4 seasons, which is common these days, actually, 3 to 4 seasons. So you could fill in the gap between game 1 and game 2 by filming the flashbacks and fleshing them out into episodes.
Mm.
And then season 3 kicks off where you have the opening to the, like I said, Jason, season 3 becomes the first half of the second game, and then season 4 becomes, the next half. So yeah, it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah,
there's a one actress that I feel like should definitely play Abby. I know she's in season 3 of Mandalorian. Her name has completely escaped me, but she's like jacked to the gills, and she's a really good actress.
Yeah,
I cannot remember her name.
That might be the person I've seen rumored as well, because when I looked at an image search, I was like, wow, like.
I can't even think now. What is her name? Because
according to rumors, they've come to a casting decision, but it's not gone public yet. So, because of the strike, and we all stand with you at the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Browsing now,
absolutely. But yeah, no, Last of Us 2, perfect game for me. It was everything for me, I mean, I love the world building. I love like how they put so much detail into the stadium and everything that they lived in. I love I loved the story. I loved the combat. I loved Ellie's relationship. I've forgotten her girlfriend's name now, but I loved that relationship. I loved what they did with Ellie and Joel. I don't think there was anything I particularly hated about it, to be honest. Everything, it was just the perfect game for me. Just absolutely loved it. But
I'm not cold on the game. It's just, I think, but again, everyone's got their own personal opinion to certain things. I just think the narrative could have been improved a little bit structure wise, but that's just me seeing my own points. Yeah. But what the main theme of that game is, and I've in the past 2 years been through the same kind of survivor's guilt myself, where I think the game is a very good commentary on say what's on your mind, don't keep it to yourself. And the moment of not retribution, what's the word I'm looking for? Between basically when Ellie finds out that Joel did that at the hospital, they fall out, and that was never repaired.
Yep.
That rift, and I found that deeply moving. In actual fact, I got goosebumps on when I was reading the Neil Druckmann's announcement commentary on the games, and to have that closure or that thing taken away from you before you have time to repair that rift is a horrible thing to realize. That you will never make friends, or you will never reconnect again. And it gets deep, man. That's some deep shit right there. That is
oh yeah, very
that
deep.
Is because you can translate that to losing a parent to a sudden illness or in a car crash or other means. And you never know what's going to happen, and that's the saddest part of this game, is that they never became the Ellie and Joel we had in the first game.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because things change, people fall out, and it's a universal thing. And I've been talking way too long.
Yeah, we do. The time is ticking, dude. We need to move on. So it's a great pick, dude, and it's an amazing game. So I'm glad you had a good time with it. Let's do me next, I guess. What have I been playing recently? I've been playing The Messenger recently. I've been playing Arcade Paradise for a little bit, and I was so excited to play Arcade Paradise because of the whole premise of the game. If anyone's unaware of Arcade Paradise, you take control of a laundrette, but you find a little arcade in the back. And then what you do is during the day, you do all the laundry stuff and you earn money. And then with that money, you buy more arcade cabinets and you buy a bigger space in the back of the laundrette and then you decide that, you know, it's making a lot of money. Let's carry on doing this. And in the end, you're supposed to have this big, massive arcade at the back of a laundrette. But you know, I got a bit bored. I got a bit bored of the loop of doing all the laundrette stuff and buying the arcade. So I was like, do you know what? I need something else. I need to pick up something else. And I've been intrigued by the Messenger for a long time. I mean, it's a 5-year-old game now, but I saw it was in the sale. It was £5. So I thought, do you know what? Why not? I'll pick it up and have a go. And boy, oh boy, what a game! What a game! And are you two familiar with the Messenger at all, Rich or Chris?
No.
One where you switch between like 8-bit and 16-bit style, was it? Like,
yeah. And I was after a bit of a challenge. I've heard that this game can be quite challenging as well with the platforming. So yeah, I was quite intrigued. And you know, it starts the way in which you would expect it to start. Like, it's, you know, you go from left to right, and there's lots of platforming, lots of enemies to destroy. And you know, you go through all these different environments. There's catacombs, there's a forest, you know, all these different environments, which is cool. But you get to a point in the game where you get this power where you can go from 8-bit to 16-bit graphics. And it's not just the graphics that do this, it's the sound, it's the music as well. You know, it flips between a 16-bit soundtrack and an 8-bit soundtrack. It's really cool. But the game opens up. It turns into something I wasn't expecting. I was just expecting this, like I said, left to right platforming game with some challenging sections. But it opens up and it becomes like a little mini Metrovania in some ways. You know, you've got to pick up some powers because you need those to access different areas. You get a map and you have to backtrack through areas that you've been through. And there was just more to this game than I ever expected, and it was just really cool. I just had the best time playing the Messenger because I think it boils back to Celeste when I played Celeste, and I loved the challenge that Celeste gave me. It was the first game that had hard platforming that I played and completed and succeeded with, and I was like,
I never once got angry with that game, and that is testament to the design of that, because I would have been like pissing blood with rage.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Celeste showed the way on how to make a hard platforming game, especially with the respawn points being on point. I don't think it would have worked very well if it had a checkpoint and you had to backtrack through certain sections, which the Messenger does in some ways. It has lots of save points, but it doesn't have that instant respawn back to that specific point you died, which was slightly annoying in places, but it was fine. I got through that. It was cool because everything else was just brilliant, and the graphics they nailed. It was brilliant. It really felt like I was playing like a NES game and then flipping through and playing a Super Nintendo game, and that transition between 8-bit and 16-bit was so flawless. It was just gorgeous, and I just loved just going. I think there was a moment I'd spent a few minutes just going back through the beam and going from 8 to 16, 8 to 16, because it was just really cool. But they've done some great work with the art of the game as well. It's just chef's kiss. But I guess like the only thing I didn't really like about the Messenger was the enemies. Like, the enemies were cool, and they did throw in a few different varieties as you play through the game, but I don't think that was enough. Like, you kept coming back and defeating the same enemy over and over and over again, and that did get a little bit repetitive, got a little bit boring on that front. But apart from that, you know, the story was out there. I loved the story. It was quality. Some people say that the writing of the Messenger is not the greatest. And I could probably see their point in places as well. there was a couple of cool, really cool moments in the story where they did something different, and it made me laugh anyway. What they did with it, and how they progressed the story in that point. But apart from that, I just had a blast, and I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you're going to play Sea of Stars like I am afterwards, because there are some nods to the Messenger and Sea of Stars. But yeah, you two should definitely pick it.
You've got this on the Switch, right?
Yes.
I'm going to have to look that up. Is it called The Messenger?
It is. I can't remember how long it took me to play now. I think it's about 10 hours, 10-hour game, I think, top of my head. But the soundtrack, I must like just give a big quality shout out to the soundtrack of The Messenger, because it is gorgeous. I just love the soundtrack. I've been listening to it at work all week. It just pops. It's just they've just nailed the aesthetic of the 8 and then the 16-bit, and they've got so much of the soundtrack on the game. They've had to do 2 different like listings on Spotify because there's too much. They've got the 8-bit one and then the 16-bit one. It's really, really cool. But yeah, no, just go pick it up. I'm
just looking it up now. That looks nostalgic as fuck.
Yeah.
Even the title card with the moon in the background and the silhouette. Oh man,
so many. Honestly, Chris, there's so many gems on the Switch you just would fall in love with. Whether it's Celeste, whether it's Messenger, whether it's what's the other one I'm thinking of for like the ninja? Come on, Jason, help me out here.
I'm trying to think.
You can like rewind and stuff. You can like rewind when you fail and then go back again. And oh man,
oh god,
bug me.
That rings a bell.
You know what I'm talking about.
I can't place the title. Someone in the chat, help us.
It's something Zero or some shit. I can't remember now.
Katana Zero.
Bug me now, but there are so many like. That's the one. It's a masterpiece. Fantastic game.
Yeah, I love that game.
So many great games of that nature. Oh man, yeah.
No, I'm gonna have to look. Like I said, like now that summer's over. Now that summer's over for us chefs, we can sort of like go, oh right, let's turn everything back on again, shall we?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna definitely look up because that looks stunning.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost hear the music just by looking at the pictures.
Oh, mate, just pop it on Spotify. They're just bangers, one after another. They're just gorgeous, like 8-bit and 16-bit chiptune pieces, and they're just beautiful. I love them. But as we've got a bit of time, there's something else I did want to talk about briefly before we move on to Rich's pick. And that is a show that I went to last week called Wi-Fi Wars. Have you ever heard of the Wi-Fi Wars?
No, but if anyone's on PlusNet, we had that 2 days ago.
Wi-Fi Wars is hosted by a guy called Steve McNeil. And Steve McNeil is someone who's come from a show called Video Game Nation, I believe it's called, or what people may know more so is Dara O'Brien's Go 8-Bit. And that show was
I didn't understand. I didn't get the link. I like that. I didn't put the two together.
If anyone's unfamiliar with Go 8-Bit, it was like a comedy panel show, but with video games, and they had to do challenges with celebrity guests and all that kind of stuff. And they just had fun, and it was quite a loose and quite a funny show. But what he does now is this show that he goes around the country with. It's called Wi-Fi Wars, and we went to see it last weekend. And you know what? It was really, really good fun. And I feel like Wi-Fi Wars deserves more attention than what it probably gets. It was a cheap show. The 4 of us, me, the wife, and the 2 kids, we all went for 30 quid in total. But what happens in Wi-Fi? What happens in Wi-Fi Wars is that you have to use your mobile phone, and we're basically playing games the whole show. And they get you to connect to their Wi-Fi when you join, and put your phone in airplane mode, join their Wi-Fi, and then go to their website. and then they've got the technology, I don't know how they do it, to like send you the games onto your mobile phone. And these games ranged from playing Pac-Man to Wordle to Bejeweled, Gallagher, and Dragon's Lair. We even played Dragon's Lair. But you are pitted. You get put in the blue team or the red team, and you're playing against each team as well. So you've got a bit of competitiveness about it. But not only that, you're playing for you get an individual score as well. So you get that a league come up, top 10 of people that have got the highest points as well, while you're playing all these different games. And, it was just so much fun. You had that competitiveness of trying to beat the other team, of trying to be the better, trying to get higher up on the chart. And the games themselves were just brilliant and like so clever as well. Just to be able to beam them to your mobile phone and be able to play them on your phone as well. And the Dragon's Lair game that we played was a collaborative version as well. So it was like our team played first, and we all had to press the right direction for the right thing to happen in the game. And if we all didn't press the right direction, then we would die, and things like that. And then obviously we scored points on how far you got through the game and this, that stuff. And the Pac-Man game was a little bit of a twist. You scored more points if you got the big pellets, and then just try to eat as many ghosts as you could. That earned you more points and such. So it was just a really fun show, and I just wanted to bring it out to at least a few people that might be listening to just go and seek it out. They're touring all over the UK, and you should definitely take a look. It's cheap, and it's a good, fun couple of hours of video gamers. Just, really good fun. And I didn't finish in the top 10 at the end of the show, but I did get into the top 10 at a point. So I was pleased. And I think I did. I think I came first in one of the games out of everyone that was there. I think there was about 100 people, which was Bejeweled.
That's one.
Well, come on. It's an old classic.
I know. So, yeah, no, it was... It was an amazing time, and you guys should definitely check it out. Don't know what's going on with my camera there. I've gone a bit misty. Ooh. But Steamy, let's move on to Rich.
Get a bit ready from Jack there. So.
Let's move on to Rich. And what's your pick, mate?
For video games, I've been incredibly unfocused. Been playing a load of retro stuff on Steam Deck. Been playing some of the Gex games, like Gex 3D with Leslie Phillips and Danny John Jules.
God, I haven't played those in years.
Yeah. It's nothing quite like a 3D platformer with Leslie Phillips going, oh, hello. You don't get that in Mario 64, you just don't get that. Other than retro, I've been basically obsessed with one demo, not a full game, just a demo, and that's for a new survival horror game, an indie survival horror game called Tenebris or Tenebris Somnia. It is a 8-bit indie horror, survival horror that is kind of inspired by the likes of Clock Tower. What else am I thinking of now? And I guess kind of Resident Evil. It's an 8-bit side-scrolling kind of point-and-click game, but you play as a young woman that goes to visit her ex-boyfriend in his apartment, and then ends up getting stalked by a two-faced monster. The thing that's different about this game is that although all the gameplay is 8-bit and proper pixel art, all the cutscenes are live action, and it's
wow.
Fucking terrifying. The cutscenes are beautifully directed. They are terrifying. And then it just throws you back to the 8-bit gameplay, and it doesn't feel jarring. They do an incredibly great job of replicating the live action environment and the 8-bit environment. Like, to the point, there's a bit in the demo where I'm going to leave my boyfriend's apartment, and you can see all the posters on the wall, and then it cuts to a live action cutscene. All the posters are there, but they've actually created them in real life. They're not just pixelated art. And yeah, the bit in the demo, there's a bit in the demo in the cutscene is really, really unnerving. And it really works with the 8-bit gameplay. It doesn't feel disjointed. They make it feel scary, even though it's really primitive. And it's just so different. I really can't speak highly enough of it. I mean, the demo is probably 20 minutes long. But it's coming to Steam, and I imagine it's coming to Switch. It's just really worth it. I mean, this thing would run on a potato. Like, the spec is nothing on it for obvious reasons, and I just love the direction of the live action. It kind of it basically merges those two beautiful worlds of 8-bit games and like CD-ROM, FMV games that used to get in like the early mid-90s. And it's fantastic. So download the demo for Tenebrae Somnia. It's great. So
it sounds really cool. I love. See, this is one of the things I love about indie games is just how out there they go, and to come up with that idea of blending, live action scenes with an 8-bit game. It's crazy, but I love it. It's brilliant. I definitely. Are you playing that on Steam?
Works. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it on the Steam Deck. It's great. Yeah, it's all optimized as well. I mean, this thing will be great on the Switch as well, which I assume it is coming to the Switch. It seems perfect. I can't see what other formats it's coming on, but I would be convinced it's coming to the Switch. So I think it's like a Norwegian or Finnish game or something. But
okay,
yeah, it's great. So give it a shot.
How gory does it get, Rich?
Oh, I mean, what I've played, it's not really much of anything. Like, it's some pixelated blood. Like, you go into the apartment and you see like blood on the floor. You see kind of like ritual markings. Like, there's blood on the door, and there's all kind of like pentagram kind of shit. Nothing bloody. I mean, nothing bloody I saw in the cutscene, but the cutscene that's in the demo is fucking horrifying. It's really unnerving. You see it in the trailer as well. There's just one shot when she's being pursued down the corridor by this like monster. It's horrible. It's really, really horrible. And I feel like they do such a good job with the live action. It carries over really well to the 8-bit, and it gives it some added weight and terror. And you don't even think, oh yeah, it's pixel art. How scary can it be? It basically serves it incredibly well, and it makes the whole thing quite scary. Even though it's blocky pixel art, it's like being scared at playing Horace. You know, it's just it really is like that. It's a scary Horace with live action.
Awesome.
So
that just sounds.
To be fair, nothing scarier than Sittingbourne. So you know.
Yeah. I just can't imagine. Like, it lulls you into that sense of familiarity. You got your 8-bit, and then all of a sudden you turn like, "Whoa, what the fuck going on?" Like, does it like completely throw you off like that?
It didn't. I mean, it helped obviously that from the trailer, I got the conceit of it, and I thought, okay, I'm in. So I was waiting for the live action, and I was just like, yes, fucking do this. How scary is this going to be? And then when it went back to 8-bit, I thought, okay, it's going to be a bit like a gimmick. I didn't. It's weird how it felt natural. I didn't feel like it was just disconnected. It was, yeah, I don't know what they did, but they just really made it work. It'd be interesting to see how it goes over the course of a full game. But for the demo, I thought it was just so unique that I was just completely sold on the concept. So, yeah, I'm itching for the full game to come out. And I'm not traditionally a survival horror person. I like my horror, but I don't like necessarily playing horror. And maybe the 8-bit visuals kind of softened it for me. And then the cutscenes feel like I'm just watching a horror film, which I like to do. So it kind of, yeah, it's appealing. Yeah. It's, well worth it. If you like your horror, you like your horror games, definitely. So give it a shot.
That sounds as weird and twisted and unique as the animated Lord of the Rings, where it go from traditional animation to rotoscope people in armor. Anyone remember that? The old animated Lord of the Rings from the 70s?
Oh, yeah. Vaguely.
He got his like beautifully animated bit with the hobbits and Gandalf, and then it shoots to the Sauron's army or something, and it's just dudes that have been roughly rotoscoped in a studio. It's just so weird. But I'm gonna have to check that game. I'm gonna have to check that game out because that sounds really.
I'll put it in the WhatsApp later because the title was a bit like, "What? How's that?"
Yeah. I was going to say if you could clarify it, but it just sounds like that might be troublesome for them, I guess, in some ways by giving it such a name like that.
How do you think?
Sorry, what?
Oh, you mean like from a promotional standpoint? Yeah, I get you. It's not actually catchy, but
no.
Yeah, I think it's Latin or something. I think Tenebrae or Tenebris means darkness. Apparently.
Okay.
Not sure what Somnia means. So, yeah.
Cool. All right.
Did my homework.
Nice. Anything else, Rich? You been watching anything good?
Yeah. I've been watching a documentary. I know, crazy, huh? I watched a documentary called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, which is basically exposing how for the last century we've been discovering forms of clean, like 0 point energy. So not proper good renewable sources of energy that don't mess the planet up. So whether it's water-based, it's based on the gravity of the Earth. There is other forms as well. Basically, anything that's not fossil fuel that's damaging the planet. We're creating these forms of energy to power vehicles, to power national grids, to just keep society moving on. But they're being suppressed by the powers that be it the governments, be it the fossil fuel companies, because obviously it doesn't really help their bottom line. So we've just basically been languishing for the last 100 years with primitive, jets powered by jet fuel, killing the planet. We've got people experiencing like fuel poverty, food poverty, and obviously accelerating climate change and global warming, while there's this other form out there that's just being hidden. So the people that have come up with it, that have tested it, trialed it, they're being murdered. They're having their discoveries. Basically, they're going to patent them to obviously get additional funding to kind of move it along, kick the can down the road a bit, but they're being denied because the government doesn't want anything to do with it. Because in the background, you've got a shadow government that has their own military, has their own air travel, that are pulling all the strings, and they don't want this companies that are basically giving them money. And I know this sounds like one of those crazy, like conservative talk radio, truther, UFO kind of documentaries. And I won't lie, I was a bit of a cynical prick going in, but it's really quite good and it's quite based. And I was like, oh, it's going to be proper tinfoil hat kind of shit. And no, it had a lot of really good stuff to say. It was quite compelling. It's narrated by Fred Durst of Limp Biscuit. Cheer! Which was a bold choice. A bold choice, because I thought that guy was a bit of a Tory. But no. So apparently, it was a fascinating watch. And obviously, I feel like maybe the first half feels a bit of a Trojan horse. It was a very grounded conversation about people discovering this new forms of energy and how they're being suppressed. Then it kind of pivots to everything that's happened since 1954 and New Mexico, Roswell, alien ships being captured, technology being basically what's it, like retro engineered, whatever, I forget the word now. They're using the alien technology to basically push forward new forms of technology for, you know, mankind, but then it's being suppressed because it's to the betterment of society. It's going to allow people to live free of just everything that comes with fossil fuel, the expense, the pollution, everything, and they're just suppressing it. They don't want people to know about it. They don't want to share that and, you know, help prop up third world nations. It's this documentary goes really, really deep, and I really thought I was going to be watching it semi-ironically, but I really kind of bought into it. I hear questionable things about the main speaker in the documentary. I think his name's, is it Jonathan Greer? I forget.
Stephen Greer.
I think there's a bunch of
Stephen Greer.
I've heard things about him being a bit of a grifter, and that maybe some of his intentions aren't purely sound, but the case he's making, the cause he's fighting for, is kind of noble. So I don't know if he's going to be a grifter. Then he's probably not the worst grifter. I get it. There's money to be made doing talks about this stuff, but what he's selling, I was kind of buying. It's a really nuts documentary, and I really liked it. Again, it's on all the streaming platforms. It's also on YouTube for free. Yeah, I'd say watch it. Go in with an open mind. Don't be a cynical twat like me. You might come away with some quite juicy bits of information, and it might change your view on basically how kind of messed up the world is and how we're just basically being screwed over by governments and the private sector. You know, if you're a filthy commie like me and you don't believe in wealth and you think, you know, everything should be free, then you should watch it. It's really quite good.
Yeah, I had no idea.
That's what I watched.
Go on, Chris. What are you going to say?
I had no idea it existed until last night. And I checked the chat and I said to you guys that how did that pass me by? So I found it on YouTube, sat up till midnight last night, watching it. And like Rich, I'm kind of skeptical. I'm very cynical, but also like there's quite a lot of people. And again, you don't want to label yourself a truther or any of those monikers, but when people like, and again, I listen to a lot of podcasts. They can come across as tinfoil hat podcasts, but actually there's a lot of sense spoken in them about, like we just said, like suppression. And the only reason, and there's, is it Dr. Avi Loeb is another one who's outspoken on the whole technology side.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that rings a bell.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's recently dredged the Pacific Ocean for alien alloys. He made the news the other day. But and there's a lot of people that will say, like, yeah, I'm skeptical about everything, but not about the suppression of certain technologies. There's a reason why there's a suppression of certain technologies, because when the elites at the top control the commodities, they control humanity. And they don't like the thought of them not being in control. Because when people go off grid, but if the whole world goes off grid, they're fucked. And that's why the oil industry and the gas industry is so lucrative, because they can control it. And if they haven't got control of the stuff that they're giving us technology-wise, they're drip feeding us technological advances, like there's a never-ending technological advance. Every 18 months to 3 years, new phones, new computer systems. Why is that being drip-fed if we've had this stuff for decades? Why new technology is being drip-fed to us? Like solar panels only became real mainstream, a decade ago for houses? A decade ago? 15 years ago?
Pretty much, yeah.
And why was
much.
that not available when the technology was, in the 70s, 80s, maybe even the 60s? And suppression is the worst thing, especially when, and again, we can go into the Scientology rant as well about targeted.
It's not,
No.
Wait for the Battlefield Earth episode, Chris. No, I'm going to be
it's targeted takedowns that is the worst, where these people just literally disappear off the face of the earth with no record.
Like where is Shane Miscavige?
Exactly. And it's like the Nikola Tesla. Like, I've known about Nikola Tesla's stuff for a few years. I was quite obsessed on it about 10, 15 years ago. How, if he could tap into the energy field of the Earth, which is gravitational, magnetic, electrical, and heat and cold, right? If he could balance that, pull the power out of the Earth system, and he was literally either poisoned or suppressed to a point where he had no money. He was living rent-free in a hotel room when he died, I believe. And again, in this documentary that I watched last night, with Rich just talked about, they cleared his safe out within 12 hours of his death. Yeah. Something weird is going on there, isn't it? I mean, and all these people who have come up with these genius inventions, and they don't. What I got from the documentary last night was a lot of people are scared to make it open source because the elites at the top will be able to find out when it was posted, from what computer, from what IP, from what location, and hunt them down. So they don't open source it out of fear of being taken down. That is why they have them over a barrel with a shotgun to their back of their heads, is because they're scared to. They're scared to. They could change the world, but they're scared to because the elites at the top won't let them, because they can control consumerism, and it's awful. Fascinating documentary. Absolutely fascinating. It spoke to my heart.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of documentaries, and you can see that the people who've made them have kind of edited it into a certain way to make it look maybe more in the way of the story they're trying to say than what actually reality was. I mean, do you think this documentary done anything in the editing in that?
To me, it never once came off as kind of crass. It doesn't have that like Netflix documentary sheen of like later Netflix documentaries where it's overproduced and it's kind of infotainment, like lowest common denominator garbage. I thought it was very professionally done, very restrained. It felt smart. Like, it didn't feel like it was trying to create a narrative and trying to nudge you along into thinking a certain thing.
No, it kept itself quite ambiguous.
I was really impressed.
It was think of it as like a TED talk with some archive footage thrown in the edit. It took itself seriously, and Fred Durst, and that was what I found great. Like, I got this obsession with flat earthers for, like, the reason being, like, out of sheer fascination to how their brains work. I'm not a flat earther. I'm a cynical.
Don't be such a globe cuck, Chris. You're a globe cuck.
Yeah, and I watched Beyond the Curve out of sheer interest. And there was also another documentary that came up on my search, and this is me, like, chat, right. I can't remember if it was this documentary or another, but one of the producers and presenter went by the name of Chris Pontius. If anyone knows Jackass, you know that's Chris Pontius. Right? It is not the same. It is not the same Chris Pontius. right? But I went on a rabbit hole, and with the old leopard print, and I was like, please tell me, please tell me, Party Boy is not a flat earther. And I was like, I watched, and I was like, oh, thank fuck, it's not the same Chris Pontius. However, I watched the whole thing and Beyond the Curve, and how those people's brains work should be donated to medical and psychological science, because there's some weird networking. It's so strange. Oh.
So Chris, what you're saying is that you don't believe that if you sail to the edge of the earth and you get to the ice wall, you won't be stopped by FBI agents, because that's apparently what they believe. It's like no stop.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I love those
you
animations.
Get told to turn around. You know.
Yeah. Go back the way you came. Like those great animations where it says how flat earthers think that they get to, where is it, fly to Australia? They go up over Canada, around the ice sheet, all the way around, and then stop off Australia. It's like
there are no non-stop flights, Chris. There's no non-stop flights on the flat Earth. You know.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
It just it is worth getting extremely drunk and watching a flat Earth documentary. And what was, I think they interviewed a guy, or it was a separate thing, but he used to be a flat earther during COVID because he had no contact with family, and he lost friends and family because of his obsession with flat Earth. And he came out as this, the ex-flat earther, and he was quite honest, and he got tearful because he was like, I got sucked in. And like any kind of cult, really, I suppose you could say, you get sucked into things, and if you're lonely, that's the worst kind of place to be, other than Scientology.
And moving on.
I mean, what I liked about this documentary, I like the case it's making. Whereas you get things like Flat Earth, where it's like, they're trying to hide the truth from us, that the Earth's flat for reasons. Whereas this, with suppression of advanced technology, clean energy, there's actually a reason why they would hide it from us and deceive us. Because money. But what's the benefit of telling people the Earth's a globe? Who knows? Other than to, deny the existence of God or something. I don't know what that could be. I don't know. I don't know what the end game is for Flat Earth. Whereas this, I get it.
It makes a bit more sense.
And weirdly, there's one film and one film only that inspired this channel's name. Spaceballs puts capitalism in the most perfect light ever that I've ever seen in a film, and it's just like exactly that. It's suppression, isn't it? It's just like you're attracted to me because I have money and power, and I have both. And it's just like, that's most of the elites that run the world. I think there's only 5 or 6 major families that literally run the world. And one of those families, I think it's the Rothschilds, can trace their lineage back about 3,500 to 4,000 years.
Be careful, Chris. Be careful.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to say anything. They can trace their lineage back that far. That family has been they have been in charge of most of the
Do I need to mute him?
Finances.
Oh dear. Okay.
Bastards. This is where our stream just gets cut.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's an interesting pick, dude. It's certainly an area in which I didn't think that we would approach on the show, but it was cool to have a chat about it.
I didn't know until last night. I got 4 Guinnesses in me, and I was on the train home watching it. I was like, I'm talking about it tomorrow. So,
I'm glad you mentioned it because I didn't know it existed. and it made my evening very happy last night. I got up this morning with a spring in my step because I was like, "Yeah, fucking bastard."
Well, you could tell that Chris that had woken up a bit last night when you saw it on the WhatsApp. It was like, "Woo!" Well, you can see that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
We said like, all my favourite people are in there. How the hell do you know any of these people? I know Fred Durst. That's it.
Well, no. When I say favourite people, I mean people I'm familiar with from other documentaries and other like interviews they've been doing. That I'm not going to mention anyone else because we'll be slapped with some NDA.
Yeah,
you get a knock at the door in a minute. But it's just very interesting. And I was just like, yeah, I'm watching that. I'm not going into this chat tonight without watching that documentary.
Cool. All right, guys. I think it's pretty much time to wrap up for the night. But there is a couple of things left for us to do before we do so. And the first is that we did have a listener give us a voice message that they wanted to share with the world on our live stream, and it's from Limp Biscuit from the Discord, and he just wanted to update everybody on a couple of things that he's been up to recently. So let's have a listen.
Hello, Wolfie. I just wanted to say what I'm looking forward to, and well, I suppose there's two things that I'm looking forward to. The first is the rest of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4. Because as of recording, I've seen the first 2 episodes of Season 4, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. This is easily the best of the new Star Trek shows, and that's because it knows exactly what it is. It's a silly animated comedy with lots of Easter eggs. The tone is consistent, you know what to expect, but it throws in the odd little shot now and again. And then the second thing that I'm looking forward to is finally completing Baldur's Gate 3. I've put it on hold for a couple of weeks because I want Larian Studios to update Act 3, get all the bugs out, and I'm actually surprised how much I'm enjoying the game, considering I'm not a lover of turn-based combat. But again, really enjoying it, can't wait to complete it, and that's it from me. All the best, Wolfie Pod, loving your podcasts, and now live streams. Hello, Wolfie Pod.
Oh,
I just wanted to say one.
Yeah, so thanks, mate, for submitting that. That was awesome, and I think me and Chris will wholeheartedly agree with you on Lower Decks and being one of the best Star Trek shows.
It is the best recent Star Trek series because, again, like he said, and we've said many times before, it knows what it is. It's not a parody. It is a comedy show that's done with a pure love and affection for what came before. And it respects it. Whereas, I don't know who's still in the chat or watching live, but the recent animated very short treks are god-awful. Oh my God, they are so bad. They missed the whole point of... They just missed the whole point of what the animated series was in the 70s. It took itself seriously, even though it could be a bit wacky, but the people writing these new ones just completely missed the point. But Lower Decks...
What are these shorts? I'm not familiar with these other shorts at all. What are these?
When Discovery first came out, they called them short treks. So they were like 5 or 10 minute mini episodes essentially, and they would either be complete standalones, unique stories, or they would bridge the gap between other series and shows. So there was a mini episode about 12 minutes long, which happened before Star Trek Picard's first season or second season, and explained some of the things like an attack on Mars, basically. And it set up some of the things that happened in that following season. But these are called very short treks. And it's done in the style of the animated series to celebrate its 50th. But they have completely missed the point of what Star Trek is. And it's not funny. It's more just insulting and embarrassing that those of you...
Limp Biscuit in the chat says very cringe.
Yeah, they're just... I don't know what happens because the people writing it clearly have no idea what they have. But the people doing Lower Decks, they know exactly what they have. And it's done out of pure love and affection, and it's done well, and it's done tastefully, and I can't wait to watch episode 3 because they go back to the planet from DS9 with their Alamarine could take me home, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
But yeah, I just love the whole concept of it. I just love to watch a live action show of just people living in the lower decks, you know. I don't know why they just haven't done it before.
Yes, that's what I loved about the crossover. The crossover could have gone drastically wrong, but it didn't, because if they didn't mention that they were from an animated universe into a live action universe, you just accept that it's the same universe, just one iteration that we watch is animated and one is live action. They both happen in the same universe, and you know, it takes itself seriously, and that's what Star Trek has done and always has done. Yes, there are wacky, silly episodes, but the new very short treks are really poor taste. They're not funny. I don't think I laughed once in the 2 of them. And what makes me sad is they've got some actors back for them, like Connor Trinneer's back from Enterprise for the first time in, 18 years since that show ended?
Mm-hmm.
And after seeing these first 2 very short treks, I'm extremely, extremely worried as to what they're going to do. Because an actor finds a job and they do the job. But so far, I'm not impressed, and I was really excited for them. And it's just unfunny. I have no good things to say so far about the very short treks. But positive stuff. Very positive for Lower Decks.
Sorry, Chris. Just wanted to mention Limp Biscuit saying in the chat that he thinks that the short treks are just basically an advertisement for Paramount Plus.
Yeah, that's all. Oh, I've just seen that now. Yeah, I just see. Totally agree. Yeah, and it's not a very good advert either, because people who haven't seen Star Trek before see these 2 animated shorts and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" Because it misses the point. It totally misses the point of what makes Star Trek, and whoever's writing them and producing them, just stop. Just don't air anymore. Don't air anymore. I don't care. I don't want to see them. Just don't air the fucking things. Oh.
Okay. Well, I'm also with you, Limp Biscuit, on the turn-based strategy games as well. They've always kind of put me off playing them. I tried Octopath Traveler once, and I think I lasted about an hour or 2 before I got fed up of doing constant turn-based battles and not really progressing the game as much as I wanted the game to be going as much, because I just kept getting stuck having to do all these battles and grinding and everything. Yeah. So
yeah, they ruined Yakuza.
I guess the only ones that kind of appealed to me. Oh, did they? Oh no, that's sad.
We did with the last.
So I know how much you like that series.
Yeah.
That's a shame, dude.
No.
But I mean, there are a couple of games in that genre though that I have enjoyed in the past, like the Mario and Luigi games. You know, they're kind of turn-based strategy games, but they do it in a different fashion to games like Octopath Traveler and those kind of ones. And Paper Mario as well was another one. So basically, Mario RPGs, are just turn-based games, are the ones I enjoy. So yeah, I'm kind of with you, but I'm glad you're enjoying
South Park: The Stick of Truth as well. So
I've never played that game, and I feel like I should.
Base is fantastic, trust me.
Yeah, I really should play that.
I have not heard from in a very long while, and yeah, Jason, if you just
I haven't.
Well, they're on the Switch.
Fractured Butthole, but Stick of Truth is fantastic.
I should. It's on the Switch, isn't it? So I should.
The Stick of Truth goes so far back. It's the World of Warcraft episode was out of South Park. That's how goddamn old that game is now. But we still got them both on my old 360 in the loft. We still own. And yeah,
so good.
Unfortunately, the UK had the edited version of the famous stage in the game.
Yeah, of course we would, because we're the UK. But yeah.
Do you know of it, Jason?
What's that? Stick of Truth?
No, the scene in question.
Slave bit when you're inside Mr. Slave.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to can't say it. Basically, you've got to perform an abortion.
Right. Okay. The trouble is with South Park is sorry. Before you.
It got completely like.
I forgot about that.
On the UK version, it was either heavily censored. It's been so long since I played it. And it was either heavily censored or completely removed or just implied. And yeah, I
think it was maybe implied at best. So.
I was like, I remember putting my 360 controller down and going, "What did you just do?"
Well, I definitely need to play it now. Apparently, so I should do.
Especially when you go to Canada. When you go to Canada.
Oh, okay.
That's the best thing ever.
I can kind of imagine where it goes, but yeah. But yeah,
stunning.
Changes genre basically.
Yeah.
I'll stick it on the wish list and wait for a sale, and I'll pick it up. But yeah, no, I'm glad you're enjoying Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game that scares me. I will not be going anywhere near that game. It's impressive enough that I picked up and am enjoying Sea of Stars, which I'll probably talk about in the next Prepare to Fast Forward. So yeah, kudos to you, dude. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I guess the only
any interest in Starfield? Is it Starfield that's just been released?
No interest over here.
No, I played half hour of it, and I was like, okay, seems alright. And then I heard people saying basically, "Oh, it gets really good 20 to 30 hours in." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not playing this. Fuck that."
See,
I've got better things
that was
to do, so.
like all those games, like Skyrim, World of Warcraft, and is it No Man's Sky?
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest of riding a horse.
Really bloody good now.
Yeah. I have no interest in riding things like a horse or traveling. And yes, I like my Star Trek and sci-fi, but that's TV entertainment at a television pace. I'm not going to sit there for like 10 hours doing absolutely nothing, waiting for something to happen. Like, no.
What's really captivating about like No Man's Sky, at least, is like it's generally really cool when you actually fly to a planet, you enter its atmosphere, and you land. Starfield, as much as everyone's been hyping it up, it's punctuated with loading screens. So you choose the planet.
Yeah, I've heard.
You get a little bit near it, loading screen goes to animation of you landing the ship. It's like, well, that's completely shit as far as immersion goes. All this talking they've been doing about this game, I'm like, I've played No Man's Sky. Like, that's kind of where it's at.
It's kind of instantaneous, isn't it?
Get Starfield. Yeah, it's shit.
My introduction,
even if you go into your ship as well. If you go into your ship, when you go into your ship and you go up to your cockpit, that's split by a loading screen as well. So you stand at the base of the ladder, and it's like you get a little prompt saying go to cockpit or whatever. You press A, loading screen. Then you're in a cockpit. It's like, no,
my god,
that's not good at all.
See, my introduction to Starfield was randomly. Adam Savage was building a miniature for the PR stuff, so they'd 3D printed this miniature in 1/72 scale, and it looks gorgeous. Him and a few old ILM people have worked on this miniature. They've really done wonders with it, lighting systems, everything. So I had no idea what it was, and I started watching him do the build, and I was like, Starfield, what the fuck's that? This is about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Looked it up, so it's a game, and I was like, yeah, that'll do. I have no interest in that. As soon as I saw the brief,
too big.
I was like, no. I don't have enough time to invest
too big
in a game where you don't.
Give me a 6 to 7 hour indie narrative game or a racing game, or I have not got time for that shit. I have not got time.
And for something completely different, Gary Davis in the chat has just mentioned Letters Live. I love Letters Live. I watch Letters Live all the time, and Matt Berry is great. Do you guys ever watch Letters Live?
Oh, Matt Berry, who shit?
No, never watched it.
Look up.
I've never watched it. So I don't know anything about it. Oh my god!
On YouTube, they they get letters that have been sent or emails that have been sent to companies or for feedback, or just general letters that have been found in like apartments or holiday rentals or complaints. And some of them go back for like 100 years, 200 years. And these really, the celebs and actors and performers and singers they get to do them, like Steve Coogan's read a few, Matt Berry, who else, like Martin Freeman, Graham Norton, Michael Gambon. They read these letters, and they're fascinating when they put their spin on those letters. But yeah, just look up Letters Live, and it's just fascinating to watch. And also, it's also fascinating what people choose to write about and tell people about and send it. It's like, just keep that to yourself. That doesn't need to be said.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll give them a look, especially as they're quite short videos. Then I'll.
Yeah, they're like 2 or 5 minutes long.
Okay. Oh yeah, definitely worth a watch then.
There was one, I can't remember who was reading it. I'm sure, was it Benedict Cumberbatch was one of them? And they were reading the letters and the replies. So one actor was standing on the stage reading the reply to the original letter that the first actor was reading. And it's very interesting. But Matt Berry sells it. It's just glorious. Matt Berry, please be in everything.
Please. Okay, I think we've kept these good people here long enough. One more thing to do before we do go, and that's just to announce the winner of the Horace competition. So, I've got the winner right here all ready to go. So let's have a drum roll. Ready? Oh, that didn't work very well, did it? It said drum 1 or drum 2, and it didn't do anything. Yeah. I won't be using the React feature on this anymore. Yeah. Well, the winner was Dead Pete Punk. So well done, mate. Thanks very much for entering, and you do get yourself a copy of Horace on your platform of choice. So get in touch, and you will have, an amazing time, because it is an amazing game.
Horace, yeah, it's such a lovely little game.
It's a wonderful game. Really cool.
But thank you, everyone, in the chat.
Well.
Yeah, it does get quite challenging. Yeah, I will give it that. I think I did actually when we talked to Paul, the developer of the game. I was like, you do realise you did make it quite very challenging, but he said, I didn't think it was that challenging. He said, and I was like, okay. Cool.
There's a few parts of Horace where I remember sitting there and I was like, how can a game this quaintly animated and designed be harder than some of the hardest games I've ever played? And I remember putting my Switch down. I was like, I'm going to give it a week. And it was a month. And it ended up turning into a month after I died. I'll pick it up again and give it a go. It's like, it's just like frustrated doing the same thing over and over and over again for hours.
Yeah, no, I get that. But Horace kind of just, I don't know, like you play certain games and they just grab you, don't they? And you can't really put it down, and you get quite persistent or insistent that you're not going anywhere until you've done this section of the game, no matter how difficult it is. And that's what Horace did for me. And I pushed myself to keep going and eventually to get through those tricky things. But a great game, and you'll have an amazing time with it. But thank you to everyone who joined us in the chat. Really do appreciate it. We didn't think we'd get anybody. I thought we'd just be talking to ourselves, to be honest. So the fact that we had one or two, we had 3 at one point, come in and see what we're up to, it really means a lot to us, So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for spending your Friday evening with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, really does mean a lot to us. But please go and check out the website.
Euro trash, people.
Yeah. We should be on Channel 4.
We need to do a whole episode of Eurotrash, because I've said it before and I'll always say it. That show is a masterpiece of television.
Yeah.
It was done.
It's Friday.
We
Friday
definitely
night,
should.
So.
Yeah, we should definitely do Eurotrash one day.
A show done so well that everyone thought it was an actual show. It's like, no.
Yeah. It was beautiful. But yeah, please go and check the website out. It's got all the stuff on there, all the episodes, all the links, some articles, game reviews. And if you enjoy what we do, then please go and give us a donation on Coffee. Please come and see us in the Discord. We would love to see you there. Where, it's your chance to come and do what Limp Biscuit did today and get your thoughts onto the show. And maybe down the line, hoping maybe have some exclusive competitions just for the members of Discord. So yeah, please come and say hello in there. All the links on the website. So yeah, that'd be great. But chaps, time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
My name's been Jason, and we'll see you all back in the past.